My beloved, I haven't made a video or spoken to you directly in a long time, and I figure now it may be appropriate, right? We've got a lot of work that's going on. We got a lot of work to do. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming to think about, everything that has to be done in order to create something new. But I just kind of wanted to address a few points, right? One, kind of where we are, right? I see people sharing an awful lot of just awful stimulus, and it's there, right? It's not as if every day the parameters of what is acceptable in our subconscious even are not being breached every single day. Um, what you have to know, what you have to understand is these things must happen. They must happen. Everything that you see is a natural result of an unnatural stimulus taken as normal. That's what it is. The things that we have lived with, the things that 20 generations of people have lived with, the things that natives on every continent in every point in history have lived with have been unnatural. The stimulus has been to place all things and acquisition over humanity. What I could get is more important than who I could be. And this has been the problem for far too long. And what it does is, again, it creates natural responses to unnatural stimulus. So we look today, right? And without context, you might look today and say, oh my goodness, look at the young black men. Look at the young black women. Look at the young white men. Look at the young white women. And you would look at these groups and be completely confused as it relates to how a human could get to this place, right? That confusion can only occur within the vacuum of a short lens, right? If you only look at what we see right now, if you look at the manifestation, you won't understand that this is natural. This is a naturally occurring condition based on where we have come from. I'll explain it. You have the majority of people in America that would say that the most insidious application of white supremacy is seen in the native populations of the earth. The fact is, the most insidious application or manifestation of this unnatural condition is found in Europeans. It's found in Europeans. The most debilitating effects, the most insidious effects are found in the Europeans themselves. The reason being, imagine, if you will, for 20 generations, children not breastfeeding from their mother, not bonding. The natural bonding process is suspended. It's put on hold. What will that do? What will that do to a child over time? Well, they'll be a lot more apathetic, won't they? They'll be colder, right? They'll be far less connected, even in their own family. Isn't that right? Okay. So now let's expand the lens and let's kind of look at what they went through. Okay. You have a people that either had a hand in or turned a blind eye to the genocide of 100 million people, men, women, and children, in the most heinous and atrocious ways, right? 100 million. Well, let me tell you something. You cannot simply, so I am a carbon-based life form. I am interconnected with every life form that there is, okay? We exist in a fractal reality where no carbon-based life form can be extricated from the congress of carbon-based life forms. Each life form has an intricate role relative to maintaining a complex ecosystem which supports us all, right? Each and every single life form. We are interconnected, okay? When you have one that removes themselves from that connection at whatever degree, when they remove themselves from that connection, the natural order is upset. Okay, the natural order is upset. So when you have a being that can murder or witness the murder and take the spoils of 100 million, something inside of them dies. Something must be turned off. They no longer see themselves in the eyes of all other things. Okay? The connection has been interrupted. So when you disconnect from any carbon-based life form, you didn't just disconnect from that life form, you've disconnected from a family of carbon-based life forms. What's the result? Let's explore it and let's talk about it. Okay? So after that chapter, okay, then it was thought appropriate to go and kidnap innocent people. Okay? Kidnap, buy, whatever. Innocent people. And those innocent people are then brought to a foreign place and they look and live life through a small splinter or crack from which they can see. They do not get to live as natural humans or carbon-based life forms. They do not get to express themselves for 20 generations. And this is taken as normal. Okay, again, let's get back to it. So the arrangement or the marriage between man and woman in slave-owning states in the Europeans was not predicated upon love. It was predicated upon wealth. It was predicated upon holding land and increasing generational wealth. Okay? And so what would happen is a father would give to his friend who also had land and also had means and slaves and these kinds of things. He would give to him his 13-year-old daughter to marry. Okay? And so he would load this 13-year-old girl up in a wagon, drive her off to a big house somewhere, and isolate her from her family. Okay. She didn't love him. He didn't love her. And I'm making a generalization. This is not necessarily 100% true across the board. Okay. But generally speaking, this was an arrangement. Okay. So then she would produce a child. And this child would not be breastfed by the mother, not be reared by the parents. This child would spend all of his time with these sad people that lived in the back. They didn't live as well as they did in that house. They were sad, but they had each other and they had relationships that were foreign to that child. So the basis of familial cohesion, the basis of family, came from those sad people. At home, very infrequently did they spend time together. Again, there was no bonding between mother and child, between father and child. There was no love between husband and wife, father to child, mother to child. They had a facade, right? They had a facade. It looked really nice. They had a buggy. They had a nice house. They had the china. They had all of those things that looked like life and love. But guess what? They had none of the stuff, right? They had the window dressing. They had the nice curtains and these kinds of things. But they didn't have any of the stuff that holds and binds people and life forms together. That was completely eliminated, and it was taken as normal for 20 generations. Okay. At one point, the father determines it is now time for me to teach my son or my daughter how life is. Okay. And so these same sad people that he had been eating with and had been playing with and lived his life with and learned familial continuity from, he began to see his father torture, sodomize, rape. And he explained to them that this is how life is. Okay? This is how life is. And so a child in any life form would naturally reject that when they saw horror. And these were people that they knew, they grew up with. This is a very personal thing, right? He doesn't go pick strangers. He's picking someone that this child has seen and interacted with, right? So the child resists. It's horror. It's abhorrent. And naturally, life will resist that. Okay, so the child will resist, but they will find that there is reward associated with acceptance and there is punishment associated with rejection of this dynamic that's being placed in front of them. And so as a result, over time, they will acquiesce. They will acquiesce to the stimulus and determine, yes, this is the way it is. So what they did was they abused their own child to the 10th power. Okay, I'm not getting into a conversation as to whether or not the abuse that they were handing down was worse. I'm speaking specifically to where we are and why. Okay, they abused their own children for 20 generations and told them that this disconnection was normal, that this fear of everything that moved was normal, that not being able to look into the eyes of the giraffe or the majestic elephant or the Aztec or the African, not being able to see themselves in the eyes of these beings, they taught themselves it was normal. What happens? What is the result? Again, interrupting the bonding process, suspending the natural law of cause and effect, suspending the natural law of cause and effect for 400 years. What happens? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. What happens? I suggest to you that a fear is created, a loathing is created, an inherent disrespect of everything that moves. What's the number one industry in America today? The number one industry in America and pretty much all over the world is security. It's security. What does that mean? It means someone's afraid. It means someone's afraid to lose something. Someone's afraid someone's going to take something from them. Someone's afraid, right? That is why security is the number one thing. I need to be able to see everything. I need to be able to hear everything. I need to see it move before it gets anywhere near me. All we deal with, cybersecurity, right? I need my data secure. Everything that you see today It's based on security. And why would it be based on security? It would be based on the natural reaction to an unnatural stimulus. Yes? Everything that I have just spoken of brings us to the place where we are now, where the moral bankruptcy is normal, where the depravity is normal, where our subconscious minds are looking forward to the next atrocity. We are waiting for it. We're waiting for it. You hear me? Let me explain something. In this life, there's been many times that I thought I knew what I wanted, right? And sometimes that definition is very elusive, right? What do we want? Okay. But what is not elusive is the fact that we know what we don't want. And the way that we know that what we don't want is because we've experienced it, right? And we can say, this thing is crossed off my list. I don't want that. Okay. And so from that forms a picture for you, right? When you eliminate those things that you don't want and you've written a rule for yourself, a picture comes into view. I suggest to you that the picture that is coming into view in a consistent manner across the globe is the picture that must come into view. The old guard is dead. The old is over. The greed, the envy, the jealousy, the fear, the loathing, the disconnection, the lying, these things are cancers to life. They are cancers to life, and they must pass. They must pass. They have been here for a term. They have been here for a time. They have run their course, and they are dead. You are watching zombies occupy the earth. This is dead. It is rotting flesh. It is rotting flesh. It says in the Quran, do not look on death, right? It's rotting flesh. What we have to do is we have to determine what is the appropriate forward progress. We must exorcise all of those negative attributes from our worlds. It bears us no nutrition to carry along with us in our days, in our minds, in our psyches, any of this stimulus. We will find greater power looking forward. See, we've always had every answer. The truth is, you don't have enough questions to match up with the answers. The answers have always been there. The answer is formed before the question is. Okay? So we've always had the answers. You simply have not asked the question appropriately. I suggest that what we need as a people is to control our own food, clothing, shelter, technology, medicine, civil engineering, social construct, belief systems. We need to control all of those things for ourselves. And furthermore, we need to exorcise everything else. Everything else. We spend an awful lot of energy every single day. Every day. And it's energy that other people don't know. So today, right now, an older mother sister is going to be in a dollar store somewhere or in a boutique somewhere. And guess what? She's got the money to afford whatever she wants. But when she goes and picks up an object in that store, she's going to pick it up and hold it far away from her body. And she's going to talk almost like an infant. Isn't this just beautiful? I love this. I haven't seen anything like this in such a long time. And she is spending energy to make sure that those around her see the object in her hand and then see her place it back down. Almost like an infant, she behaves because she doesn't want any trouble. Okay? Every day, a young black man is walking down the street behind a white woman, a white man, a white child. They got headphones on, and they don't know that black man is behind them. Guess what that black man does? Without anybody asking, without anybody demanding it, guess what he does? He walked wide around them, because if he should startle them, it could mean the loss of his life. And he knows this. So he spends energy. We spend energy and consideration for others where we should not. We should be spending our energy in building what they could not. Okay? What they built is a machine that is based on human flesh. It feeds on human flesh. Any flesh. Doesn't matter what color it is. It doesn't matter what color it is. It feeds on flesh. Okay? There's some amazing things, right? There's amazing things that we can do. Greenhouses on the top of your homes, solar collectors, wind collectors. There's amazing things that we can do while healing the earth, right? So again, as I said earlier, we don't always know what we want. We know what we don't want because we've experienced it. Well, we so-called African Americans have lain right under the breastplate of the dragon for 400 years. We've seen every game. We've seen every trick. We know every single element of how this has been constructed. Do we have to run around and tell what we know? Should we do seminars? Maybe I should charge you, tell you I'm going to build a school. What should I do? Right? No. We should bring into existence the things that we know should be. We should use the very best elements of what we have come from to build our own reality. This is just a logical thing. What else would you do? We're going to march, pray, boycott. The best example of a failed non-violent protest would be the Montgomery boycotts. Now, I don't mean to disrespect my people. They were strong. 368 days. They refused to take a bus. In the wintertime, that's a year. That's all 4 seasons. That's hot, cold, rainy. That's all 4 seasons. They walked miles upon miles. Their impact was dramatic. They crippled those stores, but because they had to open later. The people that were working them couldn't get there. So the stores were all affected. The economy was affected. It was a phenomenal effort. Why do I say it was a failed, non-violent protest? I say it was failed because it failed to produce a black-owned bus company that exists to this day. That's why it failed. A boycott or sanctions are only good if at the end they produce a quantifiable result. And the quantifiable result should have been self-sufficiency. You do not remove sanctions because they say, oh, okay, I'm going to do better. I'm going to treat you good now. Treat you good, right? You don't remove sanctions because somebody said, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't have done that. Come on back. Spend your money with us. It's going to be okay this time. Are you out your damn mind? Are you out your mind? This is not when sanctions get removed. Sanctions get removed when the tangible goal has been arrived at. So the first thing that you've got to do is define the goal. What is the goal, right? The goal behind any sanctions, behind any boycott, is to change a condition, right? Well, we don't want to go from the frying pan into the fire, right? So what does change the condition mean? Change the condition means food, clothing, shelter, technology, healthcare, security. All of these things are handled by us, for us. Now, find me, anyone in America, a single fence post that was built by the hands of Africans for them in any capacity that remains standing on this land. One fence post, one building. one business, one community, one fence post. Find me a single fence post still standing in this nation, built by the hands of Africans, that was built for us. You can't find it. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? The time has come that we must define the appropriate forward movement. Y'all know who I am. I am the CEO of the Ledge Group, LLC. I can suggest to you that the appropriate forward movement is to take our pennies and build an empire elsewhere. So, guess what? I earned my money, Uncle Sam. My money is mine. You can trace it. You can see where my dollars come from. You can see where each and every one of my brothers and sisters, you can see where our money comes from. You know, we already paid taxes on it, homie. Guess what? $100 here, what's that gonna get me, man? A couple of Cinnabons, you know. What's it gonna get me? Netflix and chill? Yeah. $100 ain't gonna do nothing for me here. Guess what it does in Africa? Guess what $100 does in Africa? So guess what we are going to do? We are going to take those dollars from your economy and we are going to build our own reality. We're already doing it. You can't stop it. There's nothing that you can do. Oh, no. Don't you whine. Don't you complain. Don't you try to cop a plea. It's not going to happen. No. That's not me. You understand? That's not me. Don't try to cop a plea. Not now. We are taking the money that we have rightfully earned out of your environment, out of your economy, and we are fueling our own. By the time we're ready to roll, everything we need is built. We will have duplicated everything. We have no need for you at all. None. And this is the appropriate forward direction. Build for self. Take it from this economy. You have earned it already. It's your money. Take them $20 and put it with my $20. Let's see what we can build in Africa. We need a solar farm, right? We need filtration on our lake. We need filtration at the water pumps. We need plumbing to your homes and to our fields, right? We need some very specific things. And guess what? We're getting there. We're getting there. We are building this capacity in. Nothing can stop it. This is now a machine, right? This is now a machine. Nothing can stop this. And again, when you have Africans divest from the evil nation that they live in and invest in a blank tapestry, guess what? We have the opportunity to rebuild it as we see fit. Clean energy. Jobs that will feed us all. We're not going to need money. I'm telling you, watch what happens in Rumaruti. We're not going to need money. All of the food will be produced right there. Our livestock will be produced right there. Our plumbing, we will have developed it. We will have put our solar farms in place. What do we need from anyone? Once we have provided for ourselves food, clothing, shelter, technology, and healthcare, what do we need anyone for? This is the foundation being built in Kenya. And guess what? It can't be stopped. It cannot be stopped. I'm taking my every available dollar and I'm sending it into Africa. It can't do me much here. Let's not be foolish. I'm paying my bills. All my stuff is covered, right? But instead of going and getting a Cinnabon, instead of going to a movie, instead of seeking entertainment, instead of buying baseball gear and basketball jerseys, instead of doing any of that, you know what I do? I send my money into Africa and I build capacity. I build a future. This is what I do. Okay? This is what I encourage every African to do. Begin to build a reality. We have blank slates. You know how much land is available? I was offered or spoken to about 60 miles of land in Ghana, right? They're coming out of the woodwork in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, in Rwanda, right? All over the world, in Zambia, in Gambia. They're coming and they're telling me about all of this land that's available. And yet, here we sit. We're sitting in a food crisis where the Mexican farmers, that's not me, they're not going to pick your crops anymore. Not going to pick your crops. Okay? They're not going to. They're showing up on that land and there's an ICE agent there. They're not going to get deported. So guess what? Their food is going bad. It's dying on the vine. They can't pick it. Well, guess what happens? When there is a shortage of that food, you think that's not going to translate to your dinner table? You think somehow it's going to skip you and your family? It's not. It's going to be handed to you. You're going to pay for that. Okay? So, again, in my mind, there is a way out. There's a path out. Okay? That path out is to build your own. It's not to try to incorporate yourself into the political system so that you could gain some measure of sway. It's not to pray. It's not to march. It's not to impose sanctions. It's not to boycott. It's to take what we already have, right? To take what we already have. I got a couple dollars. I can throw this in right now. These couple of dollars, I can throw these in right now. And guess what? If a million other people take and throw these in with me, we build a reality. We build our solar farm. We build our filtration system. There's a desalination machine that I'm looking at that costs $1.8 million. It will filter 250,000 gallons of water a day. I can put that in Mombasa and we can irrigate Africa. We can have water for everyone at 250,000 gallons a day. That's $1.8 million. Sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? Think about the long and far-reaching effects of having that in Africa. Think about the far-reaching effects of having that in Africa. And then tell me, 1.8 million is a lot of money. It's not. Think about how many millions of lives over the next centuries we will affect positively. That ain't nothing. $1.8 million? Yeah. Based on what it will do, yo, show me who I gotta stick up. I'm sorry. Look, real talk. We have resource. We have capacity. So-called African Americans have the highest living standard of any Africans on the planet Earth. And we're sitting here watching. We're sitting here watching as the Asians take Africa, as the Europeans take Africa. Soon you will look up and there will be no Africans in Africa. You hear me? It is the most resource-rich continent on the earth. It's the largest continent on the earth. It's the only continent that's rooted to the planet. All the rest are floating. I'm telling you, take your $100 and see how far it can go in Africa. See what kind of a difference. Forget Oxfam. Forget Red Cross. I've done more than they have in 50 years. And I've done more in one. Forget their missions. Forget their non-profits that are going in there pimping the people. That ain't nothing. We can do this ourselves. Guess what? You could reach out to your brothers on the continent and you can develop and cultivate relationships that will allow you all to prosper together. And that is what we do. They didn't never want this. They didn't never want us to go and speak to our own and connect with our own. They told them that I was dirty, and they told me that they were dirty. They never wanted us to connect. Why? Why? Because I got what they need, and they got what I need. They got the land. They got the space. Oh, and we've got everything that we've learned. We've got a full toolbox of what we have learned here. And I'll tell you, here we come. Here we come. And again, I don't have the audacity to think small. I intend to change everything. Everything. All right. I didn't spend so much time talking. My apologies. It's been like 34 minutes. Again, thank you for listening. Hopefully, something gets sparked. Something I say spark something. Join me. Okay. theledgegroup.com. theledgegroup.com. You can find us. Join us. Let's build a reality because we need to, right? Let's build into the next 5 centuries. Let's build forever. All right. Peace, health, and wellness to your houses.